Panerai sounds Italian, but the name came from one man's family. Hamilton borrowed its name straight from its founders, and some brands we know today almost had completely different names. These are the quirky, unexpected stories behind the rest of the world's most famous watches. France effortlessly brands luxury, style, and a touch of understated charm. Their watch brands naturally the same, names that roll off the tongue elegantly with just enough simplicity and flair to remind you that yes, this is indeed France. Cartier, named after founder Louis Francois Cartier. No myths, no nonsense, just eternal class. Now, you're probably thinking, Cartier sounds fancy enough that I should pronounce it with a French accent, even if mine is terrible, and you'd be right. But here's something unexpected. Cartier's most iconic watch, the Cartier Tank, was literally inspired by actual tanks. Louis Cartier saw during World War I. Yep, tanks, real rolling shooting military tanks. Louis was so struck by their rectangular silhouettes and sturdy treads that he went home and sketched a watch capturing those bold lines. The result? A luxury watch inspired by war machinery, worn by everyone from Andy Warhol to Muhammad Ali. It's the most elegant, war-inspired thing ever created, and only Cartier could pull that off with zero irony. Yema. Chosen purely because it sounded nice and was easily pronounceable globally. French practicality wrapped in excellence. F.P. Jean, named directly after its founder, Francois Paul Jean. Bell & Ross, founded by Bruno Bellamich, Bell, and Carlos Rosilio Ross, famous for aviation-inspired watches designed to resemble cockpit instruments because nothing says French elegance quite like wearing airplane gauges on your wrist. Now, are you still with me? Good, because France has some stylish microbrands worth knowing. And here's the French microbrand lightning round. Baltic, named by founder Etienne Malek, to evoke maritime charts and vintage European travel, retro soul, modern French execution. Serica, derived from Latin for silk or ancient Chinese silk traders called cerise. Elegance meets ruggedness, very French, very cool. ALB, originally Atelier Les Brezeguettes, simplified in 2012 because no one could say it. Innovation with a French twist. British watchmakers sit perfectly between classy heritage and a hint of eccentricity. They're clearly quirky and clever and charming. British occasionally is baffling but always memorable. Bremont. You hear Bremont and you might imagine some stuffy old British lord sipping his tea and twirling his mustache. But nope, the truth is way more cinematic. Brothers Nick and Gillies English didn't start their watch journey in a cozy London workshop. Instead, it began dramatically in the skies above rural France. While they're flying their old 1930s plane across the French countryside, the engine failed, forcing an emergency landing in a farmer's field. Out runs Antoine Bremont, a kindly French farmer who not only rescues them from the wreckage, but also insists that they stay at his home, nursing their wounds with generous servings of wine and hospitality. The brothers never forget this heroically casual gesture. And when it came time to name their watch brand, they skipped predictable British surnames and honoured their French saviour instead. So Bremont, the quintessentially British watch brand, is forever named after a humble French farmer who turned a near disaster into one hell of a good dinner story. Christopher Ward, named literally after Chris Ward. Now, you're probably thinking, wow, Chris Ward must have either lost a bet or won rock, paper, scissors for naming rights. And honestly, given his co-founders are named Mike France and Peter Ellis, arguably much cooler sounding names, he probably won big time. Nice move, Chris. Roger W. Smith, named straightforwardly after founder and master watchmaker Roger W. Smith, famous for carrying on George Daniel's philosophy of handmade British watches, pure prestige and heritage, no fluff. CWC, Cabot Watch Company, named after explorer John Cabot, known for supplying watches to British military units because nothing says British credibility quite like official military issue gear named after an Italian explorer. Still with me? Good, because British watchmakers only get quirkier. Farah, named to evoke British exploration and wanderlust, and adventure wrapped in a tasteful British accent. Fears, originally founded in 1846 by Edwin Fear in Bristol, revived by his great-great-great-grandson in 2016, proving once again that having the surname Fear is way too cool to let fade away. Mr. Jones watches, named directly after founder Stuart Mr. Jones, artistic, playful, and unapologetically design-forward. Anoma, named from a Greek-rooted concept representing artistic and optical references because triangular-shaped cases were clearly too normal. Iota, short for mathematical unit iota, emphasizing minimalist design precision. Founded by brothers Ed and Will Allen, British design meets Swiss mechanics, smartly done. Studio Underdog, named explicitly to reflect the founder's underdog attitude and willingness to challenge conventional watchmakers. It's famous for watches themed after fruits and desserts because nothing says British eccentricity quite like telling time on a watermelon dial. America is known for two things: relentless innovation and unforgettable marketing. American watch brands, bold, ironic, and sometimes downright strange, perfectly capture that uniquely American blend of creativity and swagger. Timex, originally known as the Waterbury Clock Company, renamed Timex in the 1950s by combining time with X, short for excellence. Basically, they wanted to say excellent time, but accidentally invented time with attitude. Very American. Shinola, originally a shoe polish brand from the 1800s, ironically revived as watches symbolizing Detroit's comeback. A watch from a shoe polish brand, peak American irony. Bulova, named directly after founder Joseph Bulova, famous for their groundbreaking Accutron tuning fork watches and connections to space exploration, because humming precision and space travel cred clearly beats a catchy brand name any day. Ever wonder if American watches could get even more creative and niche? Here's proof in a tight list. Vortic, named to evoke vortex because they rebuilt an antique American pocket watch company into wristwatches, vintage made new, very American ingenuity. Dan Henry, simply named after vintage watch collector Dan Henry himself, recreating stylish watches from the 1930s to the 1970s, retro done right. Visitor watches, founded by Phil Rodenbeck, named Visitor to evoke novelty and exploration, like watches from a parallel universe. Nodus, derived from Latin meaning node, symbolizing intersection, where vintage aesthetics meet modern design. Fancy Latin name, straightforward and American style. Weiss, named after founder Cameron Weiss, the first modern brand producing fully US-made field watches, American pride you can literally wear. Jack Masson, named after founders and friend and mentor Jack Masson, a tribute to American sporty excellence, friendship, and mentoring. 3 solid brand inspirations. Veja, invented by founders Reagan Cook and Ryan Torres, inspired by the word Veja meaning weather in Norwegian. Rugged American watches built for all weather because sunny California clearly needed a Nordic name for extra toughness. Italy means passion, luxury, and style, so naturally their watches reflect that. Italian watchmakers prefer names either rooted firmly in tradition or literally derived from their flamboyant, ambitious founders. Why complicate beauty? Panerai, named after the founder, Giovanni Panerai. Tough guy, name for tough guy watches, originally made for military divers, straightforward and Italian confidence. Bulgari, founded by Greek-born Sartorius Vulgaris. Simplified elegantly to Bulgari. Roman luxury, Greek roots, Italian flair. A classic Mediterranean mashup. Ever wonder if Italian watchmakers can get even more passionately literal? Absolutely, and here's your proof. Anonimo, founded by Federico Massaseri in Florence, an ex-Panerai watchmaker named Anonimo, Italian for anonymous, to emphasize heritage over branding flash, the most Italian way to stay humble. U-boat, named literally after World War II era German submarines, inspired by nautical instruments designed by founder Italio Fontana's grandfather, because nothing says Italian subtlety like strapping submarine gauges onto your wrist. Unimatic, invented name blending, universal and automatic, founded by Milan-based industrial designers focused on minimalist, modular tool watch designs, universally stylish, unmistakably Italian. Almano, named after its founding family near Turin in 1859, originally known for industrial measuring instruments, later translated to watchmaking because nothing screams precision like industrial gauge origins. China is fast rewriting the narrative around the phrase made in China. Their watch brands reflect this with newfound confidence, often drawing on symbolic imagery and deep cultural meaning. China is coming for the watch world, one poetic brand name at a time. Except this brand is not poetic. Seagull, named directly after the bird, symbolizing freedom and lofty aspirations. Today, it's one of the world's largest producers of mechanical watch movements, China's ambition on full display. But there is a couple of cool micro brands that are interesting to check out here. Atelier Wen blends French atelier workshop with Chinese Wen culture, literally symbolizes an east-west cultural bridge wrapped around your wrist. Beijing Watch Factory, exactly what it sounds like. A factory in Beijing making quality mechanical watches since 1958. 0 creative points for naming, full marks for relatability. Now you're probably thinking, okay, so some watch brands have incredibly deep, meaningful histories while others were invented randomly on bus rides or airplane crashes. What's the takeaway here? Simple. A watch's name doesn't matter nearly as much as the story it tells. Your story, whether it is a Swiss luxury masterpiece or a quirky micro brand that you've just discovered today. Did I miss anything interesting? Remember, I'm still exploring this too, so drop your knowledge in the comments, roast me on how I pronounce everything wrong. I genuinely want to know more. But if you're interested in how I got my first watch, check out this video here.